What on earth is going on in these markets right now? Bitcoin sitting around $117,000, BNB is breaking new all-time highs, and Solana touched $250. Altcoins are showing real momentum, and the headlines are coming in non-stop. And if you haven't had the time to keep up with the news and market events, don't worry because I've got you covered in this video. Instead of chasing pumps, this is the time to slow down, zoom out, and really understand where we are in this cycle and what might come next. But there's one problem. I noticed only 20% of you are subscribed with bell notifications on. So if you want to catch this alpha before the rest of the crowd, then I highly suggest you subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into it. So let's start with the big one. The SEC just made a historic decision around ETFs. The change will speed up the approvals for crypto ETFs since they now no longer need to go through individual reviews to be approved as long as they meet the standard. This means we could see ETFs for assets like XRP and SOL being brought to market much faster. And it's no surprise that right after this update, we saw Grayscale's digital large cap fund finally go live. This fund includes Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. I can only imagine the increase in institutional funding that might flood into these coins after we see more and more ETFs continue to launch. And we're already seeing the effects. Tons of these coins had a mini rally, anywhere from 4% to over 20% after seeing the ETF news combined with the FOMC meeting confirming a 25-point rate cut. So if Bitcoin ETFs were the proof of concept, altcoin ETFs are where things really start to get spicy. As for that 25-point rate cut, on paper, it's a bullish move because it lowers borrowing costs and puts more liquidity into the system, even though some are hoping for a 50-point cut. But don't worry, polymarket odds are growing for at least 3 more rate cuts by the end of the year. That's good news because every cut increases risk appetite, and that's what drives liquidity into Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and eventually higher risk altcoins. But it's not just America turning up the heat. El Salvador is doubling down too. After becoming the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender, they've announced the launch of the world's first government-run Bitcoin bank. This isn't just about holding reserves anymore, even though they already sit on over 6,000 BTC. El Salvador is integrating Bitcoin into everyday banking, loans, deposits, and payments at a national level. It's another sign that governments aren't just dabbling in crypto, but they're building entire financial systems around it. So how bullish is that? Now let's move on into some of the large caps, starting with Solana, of course. It now hosts 85% of the 100 million tokens across major blockchains. That stat alone shows just how much activity is happening on Solana right now. Mike Novogratz has already declared it Sol season, and it's hard to argue. We're starting to see publicly traded companies make Solana their main treasury asset. We're seeing firms buying up Solana like nothing else, and it's all happening before retail has fully caught on. Those are just a few of the reasons why Solana has been crushing it in the charts. And I'm sure if you were one of those traders who may have set up a leveraged long on Solana, you're smiling right now. But if you missed out and want to get into futures trading, you're going to need a good exchange. And I just partnered up with BTCC to bring the FireHustle community a killer offer. They're officially licensed in the US, Canada, Europe, and more, and they don't need a VPN or KYC. You've probably heard me say this, but it's good to have multiple exchanges under your belt, especially because each of them has bonuses you can take advantage of. With the link down below, you'll get a 10% bonus deposit and up to $10,000 in rewards. Not only that, but I'm planning on building trading guides, portfolio spreadsheets, and more for those who sign up and make a deposit with my link in the description. Check out BTCC while the offer is still up, and be sure to let me know what you guys think of it. But alright, let's go back and take a look at some of these important metrics. Total stablecoin supply just hit new all-time highs, meaning there's fresh buying power sitting on the sidelines ready to rotate in. Bitcoin dominance has slipped back towards 58%, which usually signals capital flowing into altcoins. And Total 3, the chart that tracks the entire altcoin market cap, excluding BTC and ETH, just broke a new all-time high this month at $1.16 trillion. That's a clear sign that liquidity is spreading beyond the major assets. Put simply, the fuel is there for alt season and the timing lines up with all of these catalysts. But zooming into the charts, here's the year-to-date chart for Bitcoin dominance. We can see that BTC dominance has been trending down over the past few months, currently sitting around 57.9%. Earlier in the year, dominance peaked just above 66%, but since then it has been making lower highs and lower lows. This shows that altcoins are beginning to gain market share, with liquidity rotating out of Bitcoin into other sectors of crypto. BTC dominance has been hovering around this range for some time now, and if it falls into the mid or even low 50s, it would signal some serious momentum for altcoins. On the flip side, if it bounces here, Bitcoin could reclaim some short-term strength compared to alts, meaning investors are looking to de-risk for now. For altcoins, a drop in BTC dominance is generally bullish. It usually means traders are willing to take on more risk and rotate capital into things like Ethereum, Solana, and other large caps, which often sets the stage for a wider alt season. With stablecoin supply climbing to new highs and institutional adoption heating up, this drop in dominance could be the early signal of a shift into altcoins. Now, I know this is a lot of info, and if you're someone who doesn't feel like looking at charts all day, you should check out the FireHustle Discord. That's where I spend hours every single day fully immersed in crypto research. My team and I are constantly out there trying to find the biggest trends, market news, and technical analysis, and sharing them with you well before they hit the mainstream. If you're a regular viewer, you know that FireHustle was the first to bring you the AI agent narrative that dominated the last pump. This cycle, we were early on new narratives like prediction markets, privacy coins, arbitrage, and more. So if you're interested in joining, then check out wap.com/firehustle, and the link will be in the description down below. Now, things get even more interesting when you pair BTC dominance with metrics that compare other coins to Bitcoin. And I know we've covered the ETH BTC chart a lot, which measures a ratio of ETH's value compared to Bitcoin's value. But another interesting metric is Sol BTC, which does the same thing with Solana and Bitcoin. So looking at the Sol BTC chart year to date, Solana has been making a steady comeback against Bitcoin. In January, Sol BTC was at a whopping 0.0025, and I'm sure you remember how insane the Sol ecosystem was during last winter. After that correction, Sol was trending lower, but since the end of June, it has flipped into a strong uptrend. You can see higher lows and higher highs forming consistently, which is a textbook bullish structure. In fact, if you zoom into the monthly time frame, Sol BTC is outperforming ETH BTC by a lot, showing that Solana is gaining momentum against Bitcoin much faster than Ethereum is. If you look at ETH BTC, it peaked above 0.4 back in August and has been on a steady downtrend since then. Meanwhile, Sol BTC has been on an uptrend since that same date. If this pattern continues, we might just end up seeing the Solana ecosystem dominate the rest of this bull run. Now, to wrap this all up, the signals are starting to line up. Bitcoin is holding strong above 6 figures, altcoin ETFs are opening the floodgates for institutional money, and Solana is leading the charge with real adoption and momentum. On top of that, we've got stablecoin supply climbing, BTC dominance slipping, and metrics like Total 3 showing that liquidity is spilling into alts. Add in the upcoming rate cuts and the shift toward pro-crypto policies, and you can see why traders are paying close attention right now. All that's left is for retail investors to finally catch on. I know the short-term swings can leave a lot of us disappointed, but when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, things look a lot better. Whether you're focused on AI, DePIN, RWA, DeFi, memes, or whatever else, the groundwork for these narratives to grow is being laid out right in front of us. And that's it for today. Remember, just because I'm talking about these projects or metrics doesn't mean you should blindly invest. None of this is financial advice. Always do your own research and understand the risks before making any financial decisions. If you want to go deeper with real-time setups, watch lists, and strategy breakdowns, then come and join me in the FireHustle VIP Discord. The link is in the description down below. And if you want more videos like this, then make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.